Hi, this is Misha, and I'm just kind of going over some interesting guns in the collection I picked up. And I've got a Russian M38 here. This one is interesting already because it's a 1945. We don't really know how many were produced that last year, but not a lot. 10, 20,000, maybe a smidgen more. It's also nice because it doesn't have the big billboard import mark. Instead, it's got the old style guys on the barrel here that's really not even really legible as such. A lot of times these would come off with just a little bit of gentle rubbing, especially on some guns when they really struck them light. Probably why they stopped doing it. Serials match on this one, but it's a little interesting. The gun looks very nice and original-ish. Nice stampings in the stock. Good finish. But the serial numbers are very lightly struck on the bolt and on the butt plate. On the floor plates a little more. Anyone know what's up with that? Let me know if you could. It does have a correct stock. It's not an M44. It doesn't have the cutout for the bayonet. And it does not, it has the kind of partial liner on the bottom here. And the rear isn't really lined at all. Just wood, which is common. So a good example of a 38 stock. That's nice. Just for comparison, I brought out my 1944. This one does have the big billboard. And it has the more common marked after refurb number on the bolt. And on the butt plate. It too is in an M38 stock without the M44 cut. And it has a slightly different rear notch for the sling. This one has the bottom liner, but not the top, which is again something that was done. Like I said, this is a 1944, this is a 1945, both are ish-esque. Tula did make these in 1940 and again in 1944, but the Tula guns are considered pretty desirable and uncommon. Just thought this might be a little interesting video to show you a different M38. Not really sure what the story of this one is, honestly. It came out of that collection, so it's been out of circulation for probably 20 years or more. This was really the first carbine version of the Mosin to be produced in large numbers in Russia. There was the 1907, but it was a small numbers gun. This was adopted in 1938, put into production in 39, and they would make about 2.5 million, little less maybe. These were only produced in Russia. However, some nations such as Czechoslovakia with the so-called 9138 and Bulgaria, at least allegedly, with the 9159 would take standard 9130 rifles or even sometimes 91 rifles and cut them down to M38 spec. So there are bayonetless 20-inch barrel carbines out there that weren't done in Russia, but they're different variations. Russia was the only one to produce purpose-built M38s sans bayonet. Of course, a number of nations made the M44 with the bayonet, and sometimes China would even make the M44 without a bayonet, so it's sort of an M38, I guess. But yeah, I decided I would show this. And again, if anyone has any information on this style of gun, please let me know. This will probably be one I'll hang on to because you don't see many 1945s. I would have rather it been a 1939, but I'll take a 45. Other than some stock changes and one change to the handguard, the M38 was pretty consistent throughout its production run. These are really meant for second line troops, communications, artillery, some special forces, yes, but mostly second line guys who just needed something like a PDW we would think of today. The 9130 was still the standard rifle, and the SVT was supposed to replace it, though it didn't. Now, when they adopted the M44, stuck a bayonet on this essentially, that made it into an infantry gun. They pretty much figured, hey, this gun's pretty great, we better put a bayonet on just in case we have some urban warfare house-to-house fighting. The M38 cannot take a bayonet, not even one from a 9130, because there's not enough muzzle sticking out. It's very short here. So it was not designed for a bayonet. When they did the M44, they actually slightly extended the barrel. Also, the front sight is different. But yeah, this is pretty much just a small version of a 9130 rifle. Well, if you have any questions or like to share your own M38s, I think these are kind of underappreciated today because they haven't been imported for a while and they're known, but they're not as well known as maybe they should be. It's probably my favorite Mosin variation. I don't know, just kind of neat and handy. Not as cluttered or heavy as the M44, but the M44 is neat too, of course. If you could, like, share, subscribe. Also, check out our Patreon page when you have time. And also, if you have and haven't, check out our other Mosin-based videos. This is Misha, and I will catch you very soon next time.